Good evening, everyone. It is Friday, the last day of the week. The weekend is here. I know so many states across the country are opening up. So, for you, that may mean time out with family and friends. If you are choosing to continue to shelter at home, the weekend doesn't mean a whole lot unless you are working from home. Maybe it's a break from homeschooling the kids or even a break from working from home. But either way, welcome to the weekend. It's the Friday edition of the Angela Ray Show. And I hope that you all have had a great week. I want to kick it off with our Ray of Motivation moment. So, my question for you all tonight is, what do you hear in the silence? What do you hear in the silence? So, for a long time, I know for myself, I didn't have a lot of silence. I would get up in the morning, I would turn on the radio, which I absolutely love. Morning shows are fun. There are comedians on morning shows. They have energy, they keep me laughing. So I was doing that in the mornings and get in the car, gotta finish listening to the morning show, commute to work, get to work, and then it's the grind. Get back in the car, listening to the drive time, back home radio show, and then get home, turn on the news or evening primetime programming, and then get ready for bed. Of course, there is the morning prayer and the evening prayer, but very little time for silence. And about 15 years ago, I had one of my mentors challenge me to spend some quiet time. And when I say quiet time, I don't mean like sitting in a closet or sitting on a couch, but actually time that I would normally have for my commute, time that I would normally be watching television, just in silence. And at first, I will admit it was very challenging, especially for someone who was used to having background, whether again that was music or whether that was television or even, in nowadays, even social media. But it was when I spent that time in quiet, not punishing myself, but just spending some intentional time in quiet that all of a sudden I started to get what I call downloads. That's when my next poem would get downloaded into my spirit. That's when a ray of motivation moment would get downloaded into my spirit. That's when I would get clarity on how I needed to move or something that I'd been trying to figure out. All of a sudden, those answers became clear in the silence. So, my question for you all tonight in this ray of motivation moment again, what are you hearing in the silence? If you don't hear anything because you're not spending any time in silence, I would challenge you to begin with 5, maybe 10 minutes of just dedicated silence. Sometimes your mind might wander, or sometimes nothing at all will happen. It's not like there's an earth shattering revelation every single time that you spend time in silence. But when you train your mind to get quiet, all of a sudden you open up the possibility to get, again, what I call a download. And that is our Ray of Motivation moment for this Friday edition of the Angela Ray Show. Well, our final guest for this week is an Essence best-selling author. She is an NAACP Image Award-winning author. She has written over 24 books. She has a publishing company. I almost feel like she doesn't need an introduction, but her accolades and her accomplishments definitely warrant you all knowing exactly who she is. So please help me welcome Victoria Christopher Murray. Victoria, welcome to the Angela Ray Show.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I am excited about this conversation we are about to have tonight. So,
I'm excited too.
I remember hearing your name many, many, many years ago. Uh, and I don't want to make it sound like that because neither one of us are that mature yet.
That's true. That's
uh,
true. I mean, I do have about 22 years in this business, but I started when I was 3.
You know what? And see, somebody was reading me those books from the crib. I was along that age too, so I was like, pacifier in the mouth, throwing the bottle out.
Exactly.
But I was like, Victoria, yeah, that's what I
Back
was
in those
doing
days, that's what you were
back
doing.
in those days. What an amazing journey it has been for you. When
It
you've
really has
published,
been.
oh my gosh, when you published that first book, did you have any idea that you would
I
be where
couldn't
you
even
are today?
imagine. No, I couldn't imagine. We all, when we first start, that's what we hope for. And I
Right.
actually, I just finished writing, I think it's like my 34th, and I'm editing
Wow.
to turn it back into my editor, my 35th. And
Wow.
you can't even see that far in the future. I
Hmm.
wanted to write full time. I wanted to be a full time writer. I wanted to be successful, but you don't know. And I always say, I remember when I had one book and two fans, well, three, my mom, my dad, and my husband. Because I didn't have my sisters. My sisters were even suspect at the time. They're like, "Oh,
Oh,
that's just
wow.
Vicky."
Right.
But yeah, I remember that. I remember starting.
So when did it hit you that, this is book three, this is book six, or this is book
Yeah,
seven, that I can do this full time? When did you have that
yeah.
revelation?
Well, I was blessed. I did it full time for my first book.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I did it first time. Actually self-published my first book, but I had a business
Mm-hmm.
before I did this, and it was very successful. I was blessed with that. So my husband told me when I wanted to be a writer, he said, "We need to sell the business so that you can put all of your attention into this." I didn't want to do that. I was saying to him, "Do you know how much money we're making?" No, no. But he said, "You better sell it while it's number one." And so we
Okay.
sold the business, and I always had the intention to be a full time writer. In the beginning, it didn't take off the way I thought it was going to take off, but at least I had a good financial cushion. So I've been writing full time um, for since 1997.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
So yeah, you are very fortunate. Because
yeah,
I know
yeah. And
so
so
many people, yeah, don't do that.
yeah, not able to do that.
Right.
And so I was able to do that, and then because I came in at the right time, Angela. I came in at the end of at the end of the 1990s,
Mm-hmm.
before. And so I came in at a really good time where when I wrote my first novel, Temptation, no one had ever read a book like that before. And so I got all these accolades that I didn't feel belonged to me, but I got them, and I was able to take off from there.
Wow. So I think I saw somewhere where you said you had been nominated for an NAACP Image Award 5 times, but you finally
Father,
got it. Finally
finally,
got it.
I was the Susan Lucci of African American NAACP image. I kept getting nominated and
Hmm.
nominated and nominated, and then I finally won in 2016.
Yeah, I think Susan still has you beat though. I think, what did she get nominated? 11 times for an Emmy?
Yeah, I do.
11 or
Yeah,
12?
yeah, 12.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was up there.
yeah.
It
So
was
what
up there.
what was it like to finally get that award? And that was for Stand Your Ground, right?
That was for Stand Your Ground. That's my baby. That book is my baby. Even Temptation got me started, but Stand Your Ground is the only book that where I can say I bled onto those pages. Because it was about stand your ground. I fictionalized the stand your ground story about a white man shooting a black young man, an
Right,
unarmed black, and here we are still going through it.
right.
And yeah, and it was interesting to win because I didn't want to get my hopes up. Everybody said I was going to win. They were like, this time, before I was even nominated, people were saying I was going to be nominated and win. But I didn't want to get my hopes up because I had the nomination, for the Times, and then I got nominated and won. So it was good. It was fun. It was fun.
So even though that's a fictionalized book, you did a lot of research for Stand Your Ground so
Oh
that you
my
could
God.
understand the laws, particularly in the state of Florida.
Yeah, well, actually, I studied the laws in Florida, but then when I discovered that the stand your ground laws were beyond Florida, I was shocked. And
Mm,
so I put the book in Pennsylvania, and readers were stunned because they didn't know that Pennsylvania has the exact same stand your ground law as Florida. The reason Florida gets all of the attention is they were the first one, and then other states followed. And there's all kinds of laws, because there's the castle law, meaning, what you can do when somebody comes into your house. But I'm talking stand your ground, where wherever you are on the street, you can shoot somebody and then say you were standing your ground trying to save your own life.
Wow.
So I did a lot of research. I talked to a lot of attorneys. People asked me if I had spoken to Sabrina Fulton, Trayvon Martin's mother, and I had not. Now, since then, she and I have become friends, but before I wrote the book, it wasn't hard for me to talk about what it would be like for a Black mother, because we watched it on television too much,
Right.
So that was the only part that I didn't have to research. The legal part I did.
Okay. So that's your baby. That's the one where you
That's my
finally
baby.
got that NAACP
Finally got
Image
it.
Award. But you've also you've had so many different writing scenarios. You self-published your first. You got a book
Yes.
deal. You have a writing
Yes.
partner.
Yes,
Who you?
I've written a lot of books with Rashonda Tate Billingsley, but I have a
Mm-hmm.
new writing partner that
Ooh,
I've
now is
been
this an
working with.
exclusive? Is this an exclusive for the Angela Ray Show? Have you talked
Yeah,
about this?
well, I don't think I've talked about this in the media. I have talked about it in social media, but
Okay.
this is an exclusive.
Uh-oh.
It was very interesting. Let me tell you this very quickly.
Okay.
My agent called me and said that there was this author who wanted to write a book with me. And so I said, well, who? And she said, Marie Benedict is what she writes under. And I looked her up, and she was a white author, I'll say that. And she wrote historical fiction. And what she did was she wrote books on real people who existed, but she fictionalized their story. So, for example, she
Mm,
wrote a book on Albert Einstein's wife. People in history
okay.
that we didn't know a lot about.
Right.
So I was like, what in the world would she want with me? I don't write historical fiction, and so then it was the proposal that she wanted me to read was 3 pages, single spaced. My agent gave it to me in September. By December, I still hadn't read it. And so finally, she was like, you really have to read this thing. I need to know if you're interested. So
Mm-hmm.
I read it, and it was about this woman who helped J.P. Morgan put together his library. And she was more than his librarian. She collected his art, and she put together. And I'm like, blah, 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 boring, boring, boring. What does she want with me? Until the last line said, and her name was Belle DeCosta Green, and she was African American passing for white. Angela, I sat up in the chair, and then
Ooh.
I looked her up, and she people didn't know she was Black until she was dead. There were rumors going around. Her father was the first African American to graduate from Harvard, but he was very involved with the civil rights movement of the 1800s. And
Mm-hmm.
so when his wife was like, we can't do that anymore, he left the family because he was still out there. And his wife said, we're going to be white. And so her and the children passed for white. And Belle DeCosta Green always had this secret that she was Black. And she was always living, with who's going to tell, who's going to tell. And
Wow.
so we just finished that book, and I'm working on the edits like right now. It's like open on my computer right now. So I'm very excited about that. Very
Wow.
excited about that project. So it's something totally new for me,
Mm-hmm.
totally different, with um a different publisher, because I've been with Simon and Schuster my entire career. And this is different. I'm with Berkeley now, part of Random House. And so it's just a really good experience.
Awesome. Wow. Now that it as you were sharing it, I was visualizing, this woman kind of, looking over her shoulder,
All the time.
right. I mean, it reminds me of the movie Imitation of Life. So many of us,
Yes.
and there were 2 versions of that movie, but so many of us know that movie and we know that story. And yeah. So
And we have had family members, grandparents, and who did it for convenience. But it's interesting because, as I said, Marie Benedict, her real name is Heather. She was saying that she knew she couldn't write about this woman without having an African American co-writer, because she didn't even really know what passing was,
Huh.
and we know she didn't even understand that. And it's very interesting because there's so many things they don't understand. Like, I told her Belle, the character's name is Belle, wouldn't have been afraid about being outed by a white person. Her fear was that a black person would out her,
Mm-hmm.
because black people know black people. And
Right.
white people don't know what. To white people, you're either white or black. You can't
Right.
possibly have that shade of skin and be, black. But we know black people.
Right.
And so in the book, we really try to show that her fear was when she came into contact with the wait staff, the colored, because that's
Mm.
what they were then, and
Right.
things like that. And there were other rumors, but white people were whispering about her. Black
Mm-hmm.
people were like, really, girl, you think you're gonna get away with this? And she did,
Wow. That's an amazing story. But I
until
can
she
already.
died. Until she died. And so
Okay.
now, if you go to J.P. Morgan, the library in New York,
Mm-hmm.
they have a bust of her. And they say she was a white woman. J.P. Morgan, until the day he died, thought she was a white woman, and later on it was found out that she was really black. And she was not mixed. She was both of her parents were black, but they were a generation or two removed from slavery. So
Okay. So almost like I guess there was a period of time where if you were an octoroon or something, you married another
yeah,
octoroon to kind of keep
that's right.
that same
To make
shade.
sure you keep to
Mm-hmm.
keep the shade. You kept the
Right.
shade. You kept. I remember hearing people saying you got to keep the color going. You do not marry somebody else. You keep that shade going.
Right. Okay. Wow. Well, I can't wait to see if that particular book gets optioned for a movie. But you do have some other books, some of your other books
Yeah,
that are in the works in terms of feature films. You want to
yeah,
spill the tea on
yeah. So
that?
I got a lot of good things with that. Sean Robinson, who we know her from Access Hollywood fame,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and T.D. Jakes optioned my Seven Deadly Sins series,
Oh,
and
the
I'm writing
entire series.
all 7 books,
Wow.
all 7.
And are
And
you done
what
with
was
all of
so
them?
blessed? No,
Because I was
that
going to
was
say, I
the
thought you only had
blessing.
three. I thought you only had three out
I
right
just
now.
fit only 3 out, and so
Okay.
the blessing was when I only had 2 when they went to Lifetime with the deal, and Lifetime said we want it, and they said, but she has to finish. We need 3. And I've never written a book so fast, and it was miserable because I don't like writing books fast. And when I say
Mm-hmm.
fast, it was still a 4 or 5 month process for me. That's
Mm-hmm.
fast. And so it was a blessing that they optioned 7 books with only 3 written. And I said, see, this
Wow.
is what I tell people. Um, be consistent in your career, because
Right.
they optioned them knowing I would deliver. That
Wow.
I would deliver the other ones. And so Wrath just finished. So those are going to be on Lifetime. And as we've been in the middle of this COVID thing, they've been gearing up because I think they think we may have another shutdown. So they want to have it ready for that, I think. So that'll be exciting. It's been
Okay.
fun working with Lifetime on that. And then Tracy Edmonds,
Yes.
she just optioned, along with Sean Robinson, she optioned the X-Files, my X-Files series.
Okay.
So yeah, so they're working on the script right now. I've had a chance to talk to the writer and um, work with him a little bit. So it's an exciting time because that's 10 books. That's 10 of my books that have been optioned for movies.
Wow. And Lifetime I have noticed a definite change in their content, particularly as it
Uh-huh.
pertains to stories of centered around people of color. So
Yeah.
that has definitely been a big change over the past few years.
Yeah, and those get the highest ratings. The movie with Toni Braxton was their highest rating one until the Clark Sisters movie, and
Right.
those are their highest rated movies.
We're hungry for content. We're hungry for
We
content.
are, yeah,
Hmm.
we are, for people that look like us and stories we can relate to. So it is an
Hmm.
exciting time for me.
So, Victoria, we have a question. Can you see it on the screen from Edwin. Edwin is my biggest
Oh, nice.
supporter on the Angela Ray show. Can you see it? If you can't see it,
Okay.
I know it's
No,
kind
I
of
can't. I
small.
can. The smaller,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Has your writing process stayed the same or evolved through the years? How much time do you dedicate to writing a project?
Oh, okay. That's a very good question. It usually takes me about a year to write a book. Now, when I say a year of writing, it's not all sitting down behind my iPad, because I actually write on an iPad and write. It is thinking about the characters, spending time with the characters, so that once I start writing, I know them. I may not know where their story's going, but I know them. I'm very familiar with them. So what I've learned over the years, like my first book, Temptation, only took me 3 months, but I think that was
Mm.
God's trick to make me think that I could write a book that fast. And then I took a lot of classes, and I still do. And it takes me longer because I know more now. And I write full time. So I write every day. I write all the time. I'm always working on a project because I'm under contract. So I don't get paid until I turn in a book. But everybody's not able to do that, I know. But I always tell people to treat writing the way you want it to ultimately be. And what I mean by that is that if you want to call it a career, then treat it like a career. Don't treat it like a hobby. If you treat it like a hobby, it will always stay a hobby. And what I mean by that is that even with another job, when wrote my first book, I had a really demanding position. I owned a business.
Hmm.
And so, but I would come home, and once I made the decision that I was going to write, I would come home, and every night, I don't care if I came home at 1 o'clock in the morning, I would sit down and do something. And I remember when my husband was interviewed for Upscale magazine, when I first became an author, they were talking to spouses, and they were saying, "What's the biggest thing?" And he's like, "She just didn't come to bed. She was committed to getting this done." And that's what I had to do in the beginning to get the discipline. Writing is not about writing per se, it's about the discipline of writing.
Okay.
And so whatever that is, so that has always been my process, that I am committed to the discipline of it.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of the films that you have, the books that you have option for films, how involved will you be? Let's say in the production, will you do a cameo? Because I believe was Let the Church Say Amen,
Yeah,
Rashonda's movie.
Rashonda.
She was in
Mm-hmm.
it. I remember watching. I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
she was
Rashonda,
in
making your debut.
both of hers. I know,
Okay.
right? Um,
Yeah.
she did a cameo in both of her books that turned into movies. I have been given a consulting producer's credit for the
Okay.
Seven Deadly Sins, so I'm very excited about that. And
Awesome.
then I think they're working on what they're going to be able to do with me with the X-Files. But
Okay.
I'm not, I'm very involved because of Sean, who wants me involved, and they want my idea. And I love working with Tracy, because Tracy Edmonds really wants the writer's opinion. But one of the things that I know is that my book is not going to be what ends up on the screen,
Right.
because the book is 300 pages. The script can only be 90 pages. You're going to have to get rid of characters. The characters may have to know each other sooner in the movie. And so I'm really good with letting the experts be the experts,
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know, I may do a cameo. I've told them that if they really to make this movie really go working,
Mm-hmm.
they need to include some members of our sorority in there. So I've already told them.
Let me get
I
ready for
have
my close
already.
up. Get ready for my close
I
up.
told them, if you know what's good for you will do, put members of my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, in there. And so they're both sets have been very open to it.
And we definitely have some talented members. When you think about the Clark
Yeah.
sisters, and Anjanae Ellis just ripped it
Yes. Wasn't
up.
she? Did she? She just,
Oh, she
that's the
killed it.
perfect way to describe it. She killed it.
She
She
killed
killed
it.
it.
She killed it in the Clark
You
sisters.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, wow. So now, in addition to you having your own book deal, you have been able to get some book deals for other people on the other side of the business, as a publisher. Talk a little bit about
Yeah.
what that experience has been like.
It was really interesting because when I came into this industry at the right time. As I said before, I am so blessed. Yes, I have been able to make a big career out of it, but it was all timing too. The end of the 90s into the 2000s, and it was going up, 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 up. And then 2007 came, and we had the crash because of the digital market that knocked out stores like Borders, knocked Barnes and Nobles into half. And so we noticed, Rashonda and I noticed that there were a lot of really talented young writers who were not able to get book deals because the whole market had changed. And so we said, okay, we've been blessed. We know how to sell some books here. Why don't we start a publishing company where we can give people a chance to get published, and so we know something about marketing, and we'll sell some books too. And so we started Brown Girls Books in 2014, and we've been chugging along, still hanging in there. We have about 40 authors. We
Okay.
have a couple of Giselle Bryant, who's on the Real Housewives of Potomac,
Mm-hmm.
is one of our authors. And so we have some really good young authors too. And so we're still publishing. We're still we are so full now, we won't be able to take new manuscripts till the end of 2021. That's how many
Oh,
books we have
wow.
coming out. So it's been very challenging, but really rewarding as well.
Hmm. So, what advice would you offer to someone looking to publish a book now, whether that's self-publishing or traditional publishing? Because the even between 2007 and even now, the market, so many things have even changed. Now,
Change.
you mentioned Borders, and I was like, oh, I forgot that was a store. I
I
mean,
forgot. Oh
I
my
forgot
goodness.
completely about
And
Borders.
that was the biggest seller. They were the biggest seller of African American books. Like on first printings of my book, they would buy 10,000 copies. So you can't take and then reorder. And so
Wow.
when you take something like that out of the market, it's bad. But is your question about advice on whether a person should self-publish or go with the mainstream publisher?
No, just what advice would you give to someone looking to publish, whichever route they are looking to go through, whether they're
Okay.
going to, try to get an agent and get a traditionally
Yeah.
published book, or whether they plan to self-publish it themselves?
The first thing you better do is start with a great product. And I didn't say a good product. It has to be a great book because there's so many people out here now. What's going to make your book different from someone else's? And so back in the day, you can get an editor. You would be able to get an editor at a publishing house who would be able to work with you and spend that time working with you and making sure you're writing and it's getting, you've written it well and helping you to rewrite it. Uh, the editors don't have that time anymore. They've cut the number of people working in publishing houses, and so they just don't have that time. So you have to go to them now with a really good product. And so whether you're going through to traditional or self-publishing, you have to have a good product because traditionally they're going to give you the first 10 pages. And just because somebody, your cousin Pookie got a B in English in high school, Pookie's not the editor because the editor is not the person who's good in English. The editor is the person who can help you develop your story. And I'm talking from a fictional point of view because that's what I know. And then you need a great editor because readers are only going to give you one shot. And it may be if you decide to go on a self-published route, because it may be the greatest story. You think it's great, and your cousins and your friends and your family thinks it's great. But if it has too many typos, if the story didn't make sense, if it wasn't developed, you're not going to get that second shot. So the first thing you must do because I get a lot of people calling me and saying, because I do coaching sessions. And so somebody contacted me the other day and she wanted to know about publishing. And I was like, so where is your book? And she's like, well, I haven't written the book yet. I want to know about publishing. No, that talking about putting the cart before the horse, because like you said, you didn't even remember Angela Borders. And so
Right.
publishing changes every year.
Mm-hmm.
It changes every year. So the first thing you have to do is be committed to getting the best product out there that you can get and never giving up. Never giving up. I have over 30 books. And if you saw the edits of my book now, you would be like, really? You got 30 books and you have all these edits? Because a great editor, a lot of edits is not the sign of a bad writer. A lot of edits is a sign of a great editor. And an editor should be able to take a good book and make a good book great, or take a great book and make it phenomenal. And that's what an editor does. If you have a good editor, whatever you turn in, they should be able to help you make it better. And that's what you're looking for, because that's what you need to survive in this business today.
Okay. You got another question. I'll read it for you. Is
Okay.
it difficult to give one of your books over to another creative entity?
In terms of, no, and I think it is for a lot of authors. For me, not at
Mm-hmm.
all, because
Okay.
I understand that I am a novelist. I get it. I am not a movie. I'm not a screenwriter. And so I understand that I have 300 pages and a screenplay can only be 90 pages because it's a page a minute. And so I get that if they come to me and they ask me, well, which pages should we take out? Which character should we take out? I'm going to say nobody, because I put those characters in there for 300 pages for a purpose. So I
Mm-hmm.
know that somebody else is an expert at turning my book into a movie. And so it's not hard for me at all. And plus they pay you, and that makes it a lot easier.
Doesn't it though? Something about the ching
There's something
ching
about
that makes
yeah,
everything
that's
better.
right. Something about the paycheck that will help a lot. So, but no, not at all. And I think, and that's a very good question, because I think there are writers who miss out on great opportunities because they have a hard time turning over words on the page, because that's all it is. It's just words on the page, words that you've written. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
plugging my phone in here. Excuse me
Okay.
a second. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
It's just words on a page. You're not turning over your firstborn.
Right. Right. Definitely. Did it ever feel like that though for you? Like in the early days, did it ever feel like you were turning over your firstborn to an editor?
Mm-mm,
Never?
mm-mm, never. I always, I mean, if I ever had an editor who had sent me back just a few things, a few changes, I would have felt cheated. And I have friends as writers who the editors just made a few things here and there. And I have been blessed to have some of the best editors in the business who challenged me every step of the way. And Angela, my writing has improved because of my editors. So every book gets better because of my editors.
Do you tend to work with the same editors? Or do you have that freedom?
No, well, at Simon & Schuster, it's my acquisitions editor. So
Okay.
the first person who brought me in was Sharice Fisher, and I think she stayed from the first book to like my 6th or 7th book. And then when she left, then I got a new editor who was with me for the next books, and then so now I've been with the same editor maybe for like 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's whoever, she's the one who, they called her the acquisitions editor. And so she acquired me, even though she didn't, but she gets me my new book deals.
Gotcha.
And so that's the same. Yeah. So whoever is like getting you the book deal in the publishing house, they are your editor.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
So what's next? You have a
Whew.
lot going on. You're writing for yourself. You're helping to run
Yeah.
this publishing company. You're so busy with that you won't be taking books to sometime at the end of next year.
End of 2021. Yeah. We're editing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I am so busy. It's so funny. I see people online talking about they're bored and they don't have anything to do during COVID. I'm like, oh, Lord, let me have one day of nothing to do, because I'm the editor of the books that we do with Brown Girls. I'm the editor, and Rashonda does the production side, and I do the editorial side. So
Okay.
I'm doing all of the because I'm a really hard editor. I'm hard on myself, and
Mm-hmm.
so then I will be hard. I edit books the way I would edit my own books, because I only want the best to go out there. I want the
Right.
best to go out there for every author. And then I'm still writing the Seven Deadly Sins, so I have 4 down, 3 to go. So I hope to
Ooh.
finish them soon. And then, I once heard Michael Jackson say that every song he was ever going to write was inside of him before he was born, and his
Mm.
job was to get it out. And when he was on TV saying that, I said, Michael, you feel me, because I feel like there are all these seeds inside of me. And so what's next is the next seed that's going to grow up and sprout up inside of me for me to get it done. It's been a really easy couple of years, because the Seven Deadly Sins has helped me so much, because I know what I have to write. I may not know
Yeah.
the story, but I just finished the story Wrath, so I knew it had to be something with Wrath.
Right.
Um, and then the next one, I'm not sure if I'm going to do Pride or Gluttony. Um,
Mm.
but I know, yeah. So I have Pride, Gluttony, and Sloth left.
Okay.
So,
Awesome.
so working on all of that, yeah. And then just working with the movies.
That just has to be so the I guess I would say the variety is one of the things that I like about what I do in terms of, different parts of creativity. And you have that.
Yeah,
You're going to be working, working on movies, working on editing other people's work, writing your own, um,
yeah.
getting some books out there for new authors, for some established authors. It has to be exciting just having that
It really is
variety.
good. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I still do. I was teaching writing workshops, but I don't have the time to do online writing workshops.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have the time to do that anymore, but I still am able to do coaching sessions with
Okay.
people, which I absolutely love, because I spend 4 weeks with just one person on their project. And because it gives me a chance to teach and to give back all the things that have been given to me. So between all of that, I am totally busy.
Sounds like you are booked yourself booked for beyond 2021, especially with
Yeah.
all of the movies. And has any of them already gone to production, or are they all still in pre-production?
Yeah, they're all still in pre-production, but I think as soon as it opens up, I think then we'll be moving into production for the Seven Deadly Sins.
Okay.
We're still in pre-production with the X-Files, because we're still in the script form, but all of the um, every single one of the scripts have been written and accepted for the Seven Deadly Sins.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they got
Awesome.
some good writers. They got some writers who wrote the scripts that I said, wow, I wish I had put that in the book. The
Well,
way
that's
they
good.
did
That's
it.
always a compliment when
Yeah.
you can see someone take your work and add their own flair and then
Yeah.
actually elevate it somewhat.
Yeah. And really elevated. They did a good job. They had 3 different writers, script writers, and they all did a great job.
So I have your Instagram and your website. It's probably small since you're doing the interview via phone. I have those scrolling across the bottom of the screen. They've been scrolling across the screen most of the interview. Is there another way that
Okay.
you would like for fans to connect with you?
Yeah, that's the best way, because I'm on Facebook. I'm on social media. I definitely do, and I answer my own mail. So my website is my name,
Hmm.
Victoria Christopher Murray, on any platform. I've been able to get my name for any platform, and I love speaking with people. And as I said, I answer my own email and my own messages, so I will talk to people directly.
Awesome. It's great to be able to have that access to an NAACP Image Award winning author,
Um,
bestseller, all of that great stuff. If anyone has any final questions before for Victoria, definitely shoot those into the chat and I'll get those up on the screen. Victoria, I'm just, we were talking a little bit before the broadcast. You've been, during this time, you've been connecting with some of your old friends. Have you been able to
yes.
connect with any of your line sisters, during this time of everyone, most people
Yes.
being shut down?
Yeah. Yes. And we're spread out over all over the country, and unfortunately two have passed away. But yes, definitely with my line sisters, with people from elementary school, high school, college. It's so
Oh.
funny because you have different groups, and so
Mm-hmm.
so Zoom is my new happy hour, where we just get together and chat, and then even with family, like Easter dinner, I didn't feel, I wasn't able to be in the presence, but I said the one thing I wanted to happen during this time is I didn't want it to be a waste of time. I didn't want to, I don't think any of us should feel like a year passed us by and we didn't do anything. So
Right.
I wanted to make sure that in the middle of this madness, that I could enjoy it, that I would birth new products and
Mm-hmm.
new ideas and new books. And one of the things I said, it's really helped me to see what's really important, because like you said, connecting with my line sisters and we get so busy
Yeah.
that we don't do that,
Mm-hmm.
enough.
Right.
Because I'm always saying, oh, I can't be on the phone. I have to write. I have to do this. But I've taken the time over this period, and I'm really glad that I have. It's kind of slowed me down a
Right.
little bit.
Definitely. I feel the same way. I had a Zoom call with my line sisters maybe about 3 weeks ago on a Saturday. And oh my gosh, it was one of the most
Wasn't it
refreshing.
wonderful?
Yeah, you take for granted that just because you see people post on social media that you know what's going on in their lives, and oftentimes you
Exactly.
don't. You know what they want you to know. So
Exactly.
yeah,
But
it
and
was
to see
definitely
the
good.
faces and to just sit back and talk, it's great. It's
Yeah,
just I'm finding the good part. I'm looking for the good part in the middle of this craziness, and I'm
yeah.
finding it.
And I feel like
I'm
that's what we
finding
have to
it.
do. I mean, it's finding those great stories. I don't generally watch the news a whole lot, just because
Uh-huh.
there was a story about a lady who's 108 years old who beat COVID. That's
Yes, I
incredible.
saw her.
Yeah,
Isn't that amazing?
that's
Isn't that
incredible.
amazing?
Hmm.
Yeah, there have been so many very inspiring stories. Even some of the people that we've lost, their stories make you want to do better. They
Hmm.
make me want to stand up and do better. There was a young woman I saw today. She's 40 years old, and she lost her life not to COVID, but she was flying into a small village in Indonesia to deliver COVID tests, rapid
Hmm.
tests to see, and the plane crashed. And
Oh.
so she lost her life, trying to, and just makes me want to do better in my way. Whatever I'm
Hmm.
doing, it just gives me a sense of wanting to be excellent.
Yeah. As we all should aspire to be. Well, Victoria, I don't see any other questions that have come through. Thank you so
Okay.
much for taking time from your busy,
Um,
busy, multifaceted career schedule to speak with us, to
anything
share
for
your pearls of wisdom.
you.
Well, I appreciate it. I
Anything.
certainly do. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I can't
I
wait to see this
will.
first movie on Lifetime. That's going
I
to be
know. I
a
don't
lot of
know if they're
fun.
going to start with lust or envy. I hope they start with lust.
I played a character called Lust in a church play, and it was about the seven deadly sins.
Seven
And
deadly
so I
sins.
actually played Lust. So, and it was cool until the next Sunday at church when a 6-year-old came and running up to me and said, "Ah, there's Lust." I was
There's
like, "Oh
lust.
Lord."
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
I
Yeah,
was like,
so
"Yeah,
well, that's
crazy."
good. Yeah. So well, thank you. Thank you so much for thinking of me for this.
You are certainly welcome, and look forward to supporting the movies as they come out, as well as the books. You know, we have our Delta authors on tour, so
Yes.
look forward to being able to get back out on the road with that after
Yes,
this is all over.
definitely.
Definitely. All right.
Definitely. Okay, thanks
Well,
so
enjoy
much,
the rest of your
Angela.
evening. Okay.
You
Have a good
too.
night.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Again, thanks to Victoria Christopher Murray for taking the time to share with us her wisdom, her wealth of knowledge from having over 30 books published. Again, if you'd like to connect with her, her Instagram and her website are scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And that is it for this Friday edition of The Angela Ray Show. As always, I'd just like to remind you of Ray of Motivation number 54. Cleaning a mirror will not change the person who's reflected in it. Until next time, I encourage all of you to go out and be the change.